Hi, today I'd like to talk about the Crimean War and the Crimean War medals that were given out. Now, the Crimean War was fought between October 1853 and February 1856, so just a few years before the American Civil War. It was fought mainly on the Crimean Peninsula, which we hear a lot about now, in southern Ukraine, between the Russians and the British on one side and the British, French and Ottoman Turks, with support from January 1855 by the army of Sardinia-Piedmont. The war arose from a conflict of great powers in the Middle East and was more directly caused by Russian demands to exercise protection over the Orthodox subjects of the Ottoman Sultan. Another major factor was the dispute between the Russian and French over the privilege of the Russian Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches in the holy places of the Palestine. Supported by Britain, the Turks took a firm stand against the Russians, who occupied the Danubian principalities, modern Romania, on the Russian-Turkish border in July 1853. The British fleet was ordered to Constantinople, Istanbul, on September the 23rd. On the 4th of October, the Turks declared war on Russia, and in the same month opened an offensive against the Russians in the Danubian principalities. After the Russian Black Fleet destroyed a Turkish squadron at Sinope on the Turkish side of the Black Sea, the British and French fleets entered the Black Sea on January 3rd, 1854, to protect Turkish transports. On March 28th, Britain and France declared war on Russia. To satisfy Austria and avoid having the country also enter the war, Russia evacuated the Danubian principalities. Austria occupied them in August 1854. In September 1854, the Allies landed troops on the Russian Crimea on the north shore of the Black Sea and began a year-long siege of the Russian fortress of Sebastopol. Major engagements were fought at the Alma River on the 20th of September, at Balaclava on the October the 25th, commemorated in the charge of the Light Brigade, and at Inkerman on November the 5th. On January 26, 1855, Piedmont, Sardinia entered the war and sent 10,000 troops. Finally, on September the 11th, 1855, 3 days after a successful French assault on the Malakoff, a major strong point in the Russian defences, the Russians blew up the forts, sank the ships and evacuated Sebastopol. Secondary operations of the war were conducted in Caucasus and the Baltic Sea. After Russia threatened to join the Allies, Russia accepted preliminary peace terms on February 1st, 1856. The Congress of Paris worked out the final settlement from February 25th to March 30th. The resulting Treaty of Paris, signed in 30th of March 1856, guaranteed the integrity of the Ottoman Turkey and obliged Russia to surrender southern Bessarabia at the mouth of the Danube. The Black Sea was neutralized and the Danube River was open to the shipping of all nations. The Crimean War was managed and commanded very poorly on both sides. Disease accounted for a disproportionate number of the approximately 250,000, that's 250,000, lost by each side, and when news of the deplorable conditions at the front reached the British public, Nurse Mary Seacole petitioned the War Office for passage to Crimea. When she was refused, Seacole financed the trip to Balaclava herself and established the British Hotel, an officers' club and convalescent home that she used as the base to treat the sick and wounded on the battlefield. Improvements made field hospitals in Uskadar by the British nurse Florence Nightingale revolutionized the treatment of wounded soldiers and paved the way for later developments in battlefield medicine. The war did not settle the relations between the powers in Eastern Europe. It did awake the new Russian Emperor Alexander II, who succeeded Nicholas I in March 1855 to the need to overcome Russia's backwardness in order to compete successfully with other European powers. A further result of the war was that Austria, having sided with Great Britain and France, lost the support of Russia in Central European affairs. Austria became dependent on Russia and Britain, which failed to support that country, leading to the Russian defeat in 1859 and 1866. That in turn led to the unification of Italy and of Germany. So there was a great deal of problems that carried on after the Crimean War, and though it was supposedly to do with encroachments into the Balkans by Russia, and a controversy about the holy sites in Palestine, there was underlying tensions between a lot of these countries. Now, Russia during the 18th and 19th century had been pushing eastward into Siberia and also southeast into places like what is now Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan and places like that. And it was coming up to the borders of the British Empire in India, which that included India and Pakistan. And so they were becoming very close to each other in places like Afghanistan. So there's tension between the British Empire and Russia anyway. There was also tensions between Piedmont, Sardinia, which was a small country in the north west of what is now Italy. Italy had not then been reunified, but it had prospects of, and Sardinia wanted to unify Italy itself and come under the King of Sardinia. Therefore, Italy joined the war because they wanted to be in the good books of Britain and France to unify Italy. So again, there was other conditions that were bringing these people together. So they wanted, and they were disappointed after the Crimean War. They thought they were going to get a lot more of Italy than they did. And they had started wars against Austria to get part of the Austrian parts of Italy. And again, you got things like Austria had been bailed out by Russia in 1848 revolutions. So Russia felt that Austria should have been on their side in the Crimean War, and they were upset that Russia hadn't joined them. And so they felt they were betrayed. And so from then on, Russia was no longer supporting the Austrians. So when Austria had a war with Prussia in 1866, Russia stayed neutral, when really they would have gone in on the side of Austria. So it left Austria exposed. And you had Turkey. Now Turkey was becoming what was called the sick man of Europe. Now most of the Balkans at that time were still under Turkish rule, but bit by bit there was independence movements coming out. Places like Serbia and other areas of the Baltics, and Greece had become independent in the 1820s. So Serbian and other Slav nationalist movements were starting to break into the Turkish Empire. So Turkey was starting to lose its power, and it hadn't modernized like other European states. It was still mainly a 18th century potentate, and so it was losing power. And Britain and France were both worried that Russia, which was always looking for a warm sea port somewhere, because it had got bases like St. Petersburg, but those did freeze up sometimes in the winter. So they wanted an all year round port. And so they wanted to go in through Crimea, through the Dardanelles into the Mediterranean. And this also would upset the balance of power. And so France and Britain were also worried of the expansion of Russian power in the Balkans, and also that its push towards the Mediterranean. So though it was supposedly to do with a fight over these religious sites, there was a lot of other aspects to it, and also there was a number of problems that it caused in the future. So you can't look at the Crimean War on its own. You have to think about the history that was behind it, and also the future problems that it caused. So what I'm looking at now, or what you're looking at now, is a Crimean medal, and it says Victoria Regina, and it's 1858. Now, the Crimean medal was a campaign medal approved on the 15th of December 1854 for the issue to officers and men of the British units, land and naval, which fought in the Crimean War against Russia. Medal was awarded with the British version of the Turkish Crimean medal. The medal consists of 36mm or 1.5 inches silver disc with, on the obverse, the diademed head of Queen Victoria and the legend Victoria Regina with the date 1854 below. So there you see it. 1854. And the young head of the Victoria. The reverse has a depiction of a standing Roman soldier about to receive a laurel crown from a flying figure of victory. The word Crimea appears on the left. The medal is notable for its unusual ornate clasps. Each is in the form of an oak leaf with an acorn at each side, a style not used in any other British medal. Most medals were issued unnamed, but could be returned for naming free of charge. So the clasps, so this one is just an unnamed medal, it's got no name on it. As you can see, it's got the Victory and Crimea on it. And you have Y there. And you got this light blue with yellow ribbon. That one was an unnamed one. This one's got a clasp, so same sort of medal. It's got the clasp for Sebastopol. And as you can see, they've got those acorns there, same ribbon. But this one has got a name on it. And that's got G. Wootton, but that E looks like an F, just about an E, but it wasn't very good. It looks like there's a, so it's G. Wootton, and then GR and DR. 6th must be battalion, maybe Royal, and then AR, which I think is artillery, maybe. So that is the named one with a clasp. And again, it's got the thing. Now, there was also fighting in the Baltic. Around St. Petersburg, especially the British fleet set out to attack St. Petersburg, which was heavily fortified around its entrance. So there was a fighting not just in Crimea, but in the Baltic as well. So here we have the Baltic Medal. The Baltic Medal was a campaign medal approved on the 6th of June 1856 for issue to officers and men of the Royal Navy, Royal Marines, and the Royal Sappers and Miners, who served between March 1854 and August 1855 in the Baltic Sea operations against Russia. The medal primarily covered naval actions, but was also awarded to 106 men of the Royal Sappers and Miners, who were landed to place demolition charges against Russian fortifications at Bormensund and Sveaborg. It's also in silver and 1.4 inches in diameter. There is again, on this side, there's the diademed head of Queen Victoria, and on the reverse there is a seated figure of Britannia holding a trident with the fortresses of Bormensund and Sveaborg behind. Above is the word Baltic and the date below, the dates 1854 to 1855, designed by Leonard Charles Wyon, and he seems to be the one who also did the other medal. And there were no clasps. Now on this one, it reverses the colours of the Crimean medal, and so it is blue on the outside and yellow on the inside, so it reverses those. I think this might be a copy, because it should be a lighter blue. So there you have a picture of Britannia with the two fortresses, and she's got flags under her and a cannon and cannonballs. I hope that was of interest to you. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll come forward with some new items about history in the next day or so. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.